Good evening, traders. Zach here with the Trading Network. Hope you guys are doing well. It is Wednesday, April 14th, and I've got another daily market profile recap for you for both the ES and NQ futures markets. So getting started here, we are going to dig into ES first and foremost. And the first key level that I was interested in was the overnight high. We'll switch over to the profile, and we will look at the overnight high, which also was coincidentally enough, not really coincidence, but confluence is really the word that we should be thinking of when looking at this, was the previous range high. So you see 41.39 was the April 13th range high, and you can see that 41.39.25. This one was 41.39.75, and this one, the most recent overnight high, was 39.25 from the most recent Globex session. So that was the first level I was interested in. Second level I was looking at was the value area high from yesterday as well, which was right in that 41.30 area. You can see more confluence there with the overnight low coinciding with yesterday's value area high. Third level was the prior POC from yesterday's session at 41.2450. And third level to the downside, you can see was prior range low at 41.15. And you can see that that was also the prior value area low. Last but not least, the last level that I was looking at was 41.13, which was the naked POC from the April 12th session, which indeed got tapped today. That was our low of the day. That was a really, really nice reaction and offered up some good trade opportunity there, which we will get into in just a little bit. So moving over to NQ's key levels. First and foremost on NQ, I was looking at the overnight high, 14.29, right there. Second level was the prior range high, 13.994. We can see that level right there. That was very close to today's range high as well. Third level was 13.972. That was the overnight point of control, this guy right here. Fourth level to the downside was the prior point of control at 13.918.75. You can see that was not only the prior point of control, but that was as well a naked point of control. We tapped two naked POCs today, the naked POC from April 12th and the naked POC from yesterday, April 13th's regular trading hour session. So the last key level that I was interested in when I was writing my trade plan was actually this 13.866 level, which we did indeed rip through to the downside. And again, we tapped that naked POC. We revisited the lows from the overnight session of April 12th into April 13th. And that also coincided with that low from the April 11th into April 12th Globex session. So scrolling down a bit here, we are going to dig into my pre-market analysis. We did have Jerome Powell speaking today, so that always brings a little bit of uncertainty to the market. It's really hard to say for certain. For me, I really can't gain any edge. I don't really trade with many fundamentals when it comes down to it. So I just like to sit on my hands when good old J Powell is speaking. So with that said, he spoke at, I believe it was noon Eastern time. I think it was 10 a.m. my time, and didn't really have, in my opinion, a massive impact on the markets. I listened to what he said a little bit, but not really a ton of drastic price change from the interview that went down today. So with that said, let's dig into the pre-market analysis. All right, so my thoughts pre-market were that overnight inventory was slightly imbalanced to the upside. So if I clear my drawings here, you can see that here's settlement price. We had a majority or a slight imbalance to the upside, if you will. And when price is imbalanced to the upside, we know that the higher probability is for New York to correct that overnight inventory and fade the overnight inventory, which is exactly what happened today, at least towards the end of the day. So same thing on ES here. You can see settlement was right down here, 41.32. A majority of the price action was indeed above settlement price. So I would call that slightly imbalanced or, relatively imbalanced to the upside. So keeping that in mind, you can use the overnight profile structure in relation to how it is positioned with the settlement price from the previous regular trading hour session. If the overnight inventory is majority above settlement, you know that the higher probability play is for that overnight inventory to be corrected to the downside. And on the flip side, if the majority of the price action is below settlement price, then you know that the higher probability is for that overnight inventory to be corrected to the upside. All right, so keep that in mind and experiment with it. Test out on Sim if you guys have the profile. If you have the profile, definitely check out my how to set up the market profile video, which I will link in this video as well. And you guys can essentially copy exactly how I have my profile set up, and you can go through these videos, you can watch these techniques that I use, and you can use them to your advantage for yourself. So with that said, overnight inventory was imbalanced to the upside as we just discussed. ES was looking to open within range and at the top of yesterday's value area, right? So that was up right around here at 41.30. You can see this is where we opened. If I zoom in just a bit here, here is O period. That's where we opened. So we opened slightly above yesterday's value area. So ES is looking to open within range and at the top of value, and NQ is currently sitting at the top of yesterday's range. So we could have another open above range and value on NQ, which means a gap and go is in play. However, we did not have that happen. NQ came back down. If we zoom in on NQ, we find that O period. That is where we opened. So you can see we opened up here, 13,982. So we opened right around the top of yesterday's range, but nonetheless, inside of yesterday's range, outside of value, just like ES. So when we open inside of range but outside of value, that tells us that there is slightly more directional conviction than there would be if we opened within range and value. When we open within range and value, like in the middle of the value area or within the value area, right? That tells us that the highest probability play is for us to see ranging price action in that next session, right? When we have an open within range but out of value, that tells us that we're still likely to have some ranging price action, but there is higher directional conviction. So I will be looking a little bit more towards directional conviction and looking for line in the sand levels, of course, to judge and really allow myself to take trending probability, high probability trending trades, I should say, when the opportunity presents itself, like a line in the sand gets broken. So moving down here, you can see that I say when overnight inventory is relatively balanced, that means there hasn't been much of a change in directional conviction since the last session, which I just went over. And when we open outside of value but still in range, there's slightly more directional conviction compared to in range and value. So today I was looking at the overnight low on ES at 41.30. Let's switch back over there. You can see the overnight low right here. This was my line in the sand. And my thought was if we could move and hold above that level on open, that we were going to see upside pressure into the overnight high, into prior range high, and perhaps to new highs. On NQ, I was looking at 13,994, which was the prior range high right here. And my thought was, just like ES, if we could move and hold above that level, that we were going to get upside pressure. You can see that we did not even get to 994 today. We got to, let's see, what was this level? About 889 and got rejected, right? So we opened up and we had a drive to the downside. Similar to the video that I posted yesterday where we had the open test drive to the upside, this on NQ was an open drive. Well, let's be more specific here. An open test drive to the downside. So here we are opening at O period, right? We're moving up. We are testing a prior level. Call this testing previous highs, okay? And then once we are getting rejected, we are driving downwards. So that is an open test drive. Keep an eye out for that profile structure. I really, really highly recommend reading the book Mind Over Markets by Jim Dalton. That is one of the best books, in my opinion, to learn market profile, and that is a book that helped me tremendously. I can't recommend it enough. So with that said, let's move into what I was thinking, kind of wrapping up my analysis in the morning. I was saying that I was looking for upside directional conviction to develop, and if we could not move and hold above those levels, then I was looking for downside pressure, most likely to fill those naked POCs, okay? So if we do not move and hold above those levels, I was looking for a move back into the value area on both ES and NQ, which we did indeed get. We broke the lows from yesterday, and we moved down into and through the overnight profile from that previous session and into the naked point of controls. So upon open, again, I was looking to see if ES and NQ could hold above those line in the sand levels, 4130, 13994. And if we hold them, I was looking for upside directional conviction. And you could see that we did not hold those levels, and we got that bracketing price action, that rotational price action that we are more likely to have when we have an open in range and out of value, or open in range and value. So moving down into the targets, we will look at what levels we got hit today on both ES and NQ, starting with ES. So I will go ahead and I will hide my profile overlay levels there. And here's my line in the sand for ES, 4130, right? I'll draw a couple arrows just so it is abundantly clear there. So to the upside, I was looking at the overnight POC as my first target, which did indeed get hit right on the open there. So opened up at 41.32, quick scalp. You could take, profit there if you had more than one contract. If you had more than one contract, you could hopefully hold it from here, 34 to 39, and pull the rest of your profit in at my next upside target, which was indeed 41.3975. Okay, and both of these targets got hit in the initial balance, which was that opening 1 hour range. We moved up into that 41.41 level, which was a Fibonacci pivot level. And as you guys might know, I use Fibonacci pivots. I also use VWAP deviations, which is a part of the Trading Network proprietary indicator package, to give me targets when we are trading at all-time highs. It is a very, very handy tool to have something like fib pivots or VWAP deviations to give you projected levels where price has never gone before, right? So even on something like Bitcoin, that's pushing all-time highs right now, VWAP deviations, or really all these like altcoins, not to go on a crypto tangent here, but you can use these deviations to give you calculated targets. So keep an eye out for how I use these VWAP deviations in my videos. If you guys want to know more, check out the links in the description below, and you can learn more at our website. So with that said, 41.41 was, I believe, R2, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go back and double check here. Yep, it was indeed. So actually, no, I'm mistaken. 41.41 was the first upper deviation of VWAP. So let me show you guys what I'm looking at here. Okay, so we're going back to the open. So here's London open. Here's today's open, okay? So we opened up, we got the test, we got the drive on ES, right? All right, so let me just clarify here. This was actually the second upper deviation of VWAP. So you can see it moves with price, as I mentioned in my last video. So I use these as targets. So we hadn't gotten up here in the overnight session. So I was using this 42 level, second upper deviation of VWAP as a target. My next target was 41.48. You can see that 41.48 was Fibonacci pivot R2, all right? So this purple line up here is Fib pivot R2. This is Fib pivot R1. This is the pivot point, PP itself. This splits the Fibonacci pivots. We have S1 through S3 down here, which is support 1, support 2, and support 3. These are automatically calculated support resistance lines. For what it's worth, guys, I have not drawn my own support resistance lines for years. I feel like it's pretty silly to leave that up to human error when we can use things like market profile, which are automatically calculated for us, VWAP deviations, automatically calculated for us, and Fibonacci pivots, automatically calculated for us. So that is my thought process on why I do not pick manual support and resistance levels. I feel like it's not necessary. And, when it comes down to it, it's in our best interest to use the tools that we have at our disposal to our advantage for both time, convenience, and edge, of course. So moving into our last upside target, it was 41.63. 41.63 was R3. So you can see this all the way up here, 41.63. That was my upside target. We obviously did not get there. But when we are in blue sky breakout territory, I do not put anything like that out of the question. So you can see, just to reiterate here, the upside targets were 41.34, 41.3925, and 41.41 area, which also coincided with today's value area high. So looking to the downside, you can see the downside targets. We did get some good downside targets hit. First and foremost, 41.27, which was the overnight high from the April 12th into April 13th Globex session. Next target to the downside was 41.24. That was this naked POC we had from yesterday's regular trading hour session. Third downside target was 41.20. You can see 41.20 was the overnight point of control from that April 12th into April 13th Globex session. And the next downside target was 41.13. 41.13 was today's low, and it was also the naked point of control from the April 12th regular trading hour session. Last downside target, we did not get it hit, but that was 41.06. That was down here. That was the regular trading hours low from that same session there. So it was a very balanced, very nice rotational session today. We had a lot of good opportunity, and it was very interesting to see how price came up, got rejection from the highs, came down, and got immediate reaction to the tick from this prior naked POC, which is a very high probability play. Like I always talk about, naked POCs offer up great opportunity. So you can short to them. You know, for instance, if this low breaks, right, target the naked POC. If this low breaks, or if this breaks, right, target the naked POC. Once this gets tapped, this coincides with another overnight volume point of control and point of control that might offer up support. Very likely to, actually. So just, not that I want to draw this out too much longer, but I want to just help you guys understand how powerful these levels can be, right? So if we look at 41.13, you can see right in this area, we put in our low. Right here, we had divergence. We came up, and we put in a higher low. Okay, and we also had more divergence right here. So a lot of confluence in this area to take a long, and you can see price got picked up, retested one more time, never violated that 41.13 level. So keep that in mind. These profile levels are like brick walls if you get them at the right time. So moving on into NQ, this is going to be short and sweet because we did not have any upside targets hit. Line in the sand, 13,994. High of the day, basically 13,990, right? So we came up, we opened right in this area, like 86-ish, came up, rejected, couldn't even get to yesterday's high, and got a fierce flush to the downside. So no upside targets hit. There was no upside directional conviction. Bears were in control on NQ all day. All right. As far as the downside targets go, first downside target was 13,948. 13,948 was yesterday's value area high. You can see that level right there. Second downside target was 13,918. 13,918 was yesterday's naked POC. You can see that right there. Very similar to ES. We've had naked POC on both profiles, both instruments. Okay. Next downside target was 13,896. You guys might be familiar with that level from the last trade plan from yesterday. And that was the overnight high from April 12th into April 13th. The next downside target that I was looking at, and you can see that we didn't get this really overnight high broken until later in the day. So if I zoom in here, this was F period. So we started working down in F period. So it took, after the first hour, after the initial balance rather, to break that level and see that downside pressure really get the strong continuation that we were looking for. So after 896 got hit, I was looking for 866 to get hit, which was that low from the April 13th session. Next downside target after 866, that was the final downside target that I was interested in personally, was 13,828. When I was writing my trade plan, I really didn't think we were going to get that extension to the downside, but this is why we always have if-then scenarios. It doesn't really matter what I think. We don't trade what we think, we trade what we see. We trade the information that the market is giving us, right? So that is the last downside target that I was interested in. That was where I took my final take profit for that position. So that was the last downside target that I was interested in. And again, the bears were in control on NQ. And you can see even in this, obviously we haven't been open for very long, but even in current Globex session, the bulls have not really been able to pick it up above this 13,828, 13,832 level very much, right? You see how there's a lot of confluence here, 828, 832, 839, 841. Right? And this is going to be a very important level for us to move and hold above if you want to see a continuation to the upside back into the POC and back into value area high. So with that said, I hope this video helped you guys quite a bit. I tried to go into a little bit more detail, especially for those of you guys who are newer to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel and you have questions about what I do here in general or questions about market profile, please do not hesitate to leave a comment down below. With all of that said, I want to thank you guys very much for taking the time to watch these videos and like and subscribe if you guys do dig what you see. If you guys want to learn more, or if you are interested in joining our private community, please check out the links in the description below, where you can find a link to our public community. First and foremost, our free Facebook group, where you can get these trade plans on a daily basis, Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. You will also find a link to the tradingnetwork.io, which is our website, where you can get more information on purchasing one-on-one mentorship with me. I offer 4-week programs, 10-week programs, and a few other varying lengths. You can also learn more about joining the Trading Network private Discord community, where you can watch me trade live on a daily basis, Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. You can purchase access to the Trading Network proprietary indicator package, which you saw a little bit of in this video. And last but not least, you can also gain access to the Fundamentals of Futures Trading course and the FFT course bundles, which include lifetime Discord access and the Trading Network proprietary indicator package. We also offer payment plans, so we can make it a little bit easier on your wallet as well if you're interested in joining, but need to budget a little bit differently. If you guys have any questions, as always, feel free to leave a comment down below. Feel free to hit me up on any of our social channels, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, of course, and let me know how I can help. I appreciate you guys immensely, and I will see you in the next video.